Hey, what is up, tech enthusiasts? BoHD here, and in the beginning of 2014, there were a lot of expectations in regards to technology. While some were unrealistic, most were pretty realistic, but for whatever reason, they just never turned out to be true, or they completely failed or flopped. I want to highlight 5 anticipated tech products that I was expecting in 2014 that just never really became a reality or a success. So coming in at number 5 is the Nokia X and the Nokia X Plus Android phones. Now the Nokia X and Nokia X Plus were the first Android phones released by Nokia, and they were released in February of 2014, but they had a few problems. First of all, they lacked high-end specs. The X had a 4-inch 840 by 480 IPS display and a half a gigabyte of RAM and sort of a pathetic 3 megapixel camera. The X Plus had basically the same specs, but slightly more RAM, and it included a 4 gigabyte micro SD card. And both phones didn't have Google Apps or the Google Play Store because they were based on the forked AOSP Android OS, so they were both hybrid devices. Basically, the Nokia X and X Plus failed because the specs sucked. Basically, every Android phone at that time could outspec and outcompete the Nokia X lineup. They had bad cameras, which is sort of unheard of for the Nokia X lineup, and they didn't run the full Android software, so they had no Google Apps and no Play Store, like I said earlier, and they essentially competed with the Lumia brand that Nokia fought so hard to keep relevant. So, for all those reasons, the Nokia X and Nokia X Plus unfortunately made it on the list at number 5. Coming in at number 4 is the Apple Watch. Now, 2014 was predicted to be the year of the wearable, and in many respects it was shaping up to be that way if Apple were to release a smartwatch in 2014. Well, September rolled around, and after announcing the Apple iPhone 6 and iPhone 6 Plus, Apple finally announced the Apple Watch, the wearable Apple fans and techies were waiting for, except it wasn't going to be released in 2014. Instead, it was pegged for early 2015 with a starting price of $349, and to this day, it's still not certain as to when we will actually see the Apple Watch released. One thing is for certain though, and that is that the Apple Watch will not be released in 2014, which is a big upset for myself and much of the tech community. Coming in at number 3 is another wearable device. Can you guess what it is? Maybe this will help. Yeah, it's Google Glass, and it's still not available for the public just yet. Well, I mean, technically it is available, but it costs $1,500, which in my opinion means that it's not made for the public. A lot of people, including myself, expected the price to be significantly reduced to around $300 and for it to go on sale and be marketed to the public. I mean, it has a revolutionary sleek design, it works pretty well, and it just needs to be marketed to the public. But it wasn't. In fact, it almost feels like Google has completely forgotten about Google Glass since there has been no increase in specs, the price hasn't dropped, it's just remained stagnant for well over a year, making it not only a disappointment, but unappealing, old, and kind of stale. Fingers crossed we see it refreshed and revived early next year, but it's certainly not coming to life this year. Coming in at number 2 is the Oculus Rift for one and only one reason, and that is that it's not available for the public just yet. Similar to Google Glass, the Oculus Rift is made for developers, and it too carries a relatively high price of $399, too high of a price for the average consumer. The Oculus Rift rose to success through Kickstarter as it raised almost $2.5 million worth of pledges, which far surpassed its $250,000 goal in August of 2012. And early in 2014, Mark Zuckerberg, aka the CEO of Facebook, purchased Oculus for $2 billion, but after 2 years of it being available, it still has yet to be released to the public. Even the Samsung Gear VR, which I have right here, is powered by Oculus, but it's an innovator edition, meaning it's not really geared to the public just yet. It's upsetting to see, but fingers crossed that it too will see a public release date early next year at the very least, because this device and the Oculus Rift is a seriously incredible piece of technology. It's one of the best pieces of tech that I have ever used, and once again, it's just upsetting to see that it wasn't released to the public in 2014. But so far, we've seen devices on this list that were upsetting because they weren't released to the public. We've also seen devices that were released to the public, but they were just terrible devices and they failed miserably. But the number 1 most upsetting tech device of 2014 was the Amazon Fire Phone. Now, early in 2014, I was genuinely looking forward to the Amazon Fire Phone just so I could see what Amazon could come up with and how it was going to be able to market itself through its features and cheap price tag. I was sure that it was going to be a hit. But, well, it was quite the opposite. First of all, the price tag was way too high, coming in at around $600 off contract and $200 on contract for AT&T and AT&T only. Its specs were just average and the features weren't really all that appealing. I mean, it had a 3D display that worked by tracking your eyes by the 4 cameras that were mounted on the front of the phone, and it worked pretty well. It also had a dedicated Firefly button, which basically allowed you to take pictures of items and purchase them on Amazon. Long story short, the phone just did not sell well at all. Amazon had millions of inventory left over, and the Fire Phone was just a complete and utter failure, making it the most upsetting and failed piece of tech of 2014. So with that said, that is my list of the top 5 tech upsets of 2014. Let me know what you think is the biggest tech upset of 2014 by leaving me a comment down below or sending me a tweet over on Twitter at BoHD. Happy holidays, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. As always, I'm BoHD, and I will see you in the next one. See ya.